Hi, this is Amelia Vandervelde. I will be talking about my first interaction with Agnes from Tanzania with regards to my global learning project. I wanted to start off with some background about Agnes's education. She attended kindergarten, 1st through 7th, Form 1 through Form 4, in which afterwards, if you wanted to, you could pursue an associate's degree. If not, you could continue on to Form 5 and 6, and thus afterwards pursue college education. Agnes was lucky enough to receive a scholarship after Form 4, in which she could attend an American high school and then afterwards pursue higher education within the United States. The high school that Agnes was accepted to was 8 hours away from her parents' home. So she had to move and live with her brother, who took care of her for the last couple years of her education. Agnes's typical day was much different than the average citizen in Tanzania. She was a little bit well off, you could say, and so she was lucky enough to be able to bathe every single day, unlike several other students, and to take the bus to school. She also took the bus home and was able to hang out with friends in the neighborhood, very much similar to an American day-to-day high school student's life. Three worries that Agnes had in high school was very much about her grades and passing her tests. It was super important, especially to get into that American high school. Also, a lot of the teachers had low standards for the students, which was hard for the students to have higher standards for themselves, and it made it harder for them to be successful. Also, another thing that Agnes often worried about was punishments. Prior to being in American school, the punishment was typically being beaten with sticks and other painful tactics. Agnes had a couple things that she really enjoyed about high school. Very much getting her education was super important to her, and being able to have that social aspect and getting out of her house was something that she really enjoyed. There were no extracurriculars offered in high school, though, but that didn't really affect her much. Some tests and preparation that they had for these tests included in Form 2 and 4, they were required to take these tests to allow them to move on to the next level. So this is a little bit different than the American style, where you get good grades, you go to the next grade, the next level. And if you don't get those grades, then you're held back. But in Tanzania, it was either you pass the test or you don't. You either move on or you're done. You also were required to do this in Form 6 in order to be able to pursue that college education. There was very little preparation. Again, as I said earlier, the standards were low. You weren't really meant to be successful, and the teachers didn't put much effort into you being able to pass these tests and continue to your education, because it was very much a standard to not. Agnes also took the ACT and the SAT while in the American high school, and she did poorly on these, and it wasn't really a gauge of her intelligence, but rather of her understanding of English and her ability to read the tests and understand what they were saying. We did have the opportunity to compare some pictures. The climates were way different, obviously, Africa and the United States. The clothing was much different, and you could vividly see from the pictures it was much more a simpler life. There was the toys were different, the activities were different, the houses more run down, very small, along with the school, very small courtyard, not much of a jungle gym at the school. Some other things that I thought were really important to note with my conversation with Agnes was about the push for the education. She told me that her reason for pursuing a higher education and for going to high school and continuing was very much personal. And she said that it was personal not because her parents weren't proud of her or didn't want her to achieve this, but more because they never got the higher education, and so they never understood the importance of it and the significance it could make in somebody's life. Another thing she explained to me that women were extremely suppressed, and so they weren't really pushed to go to school. Another reason why her parents didn't push it upon her. And often the woman got pregnant, dropped out, and got married. The males were very much more focused on getting an education rather than the woman. Agnes was also not allowed to have a boyfriend or any type of social life for that matter. And if she were, she would be punished by her family. And again, these would be physical punishments. Some of my reactions and insights, I was truly shocked about the beatings. It's so much different than my hour detention or my grounding for a week. Not only that, but her education was valued way less because she was a woman. And Agnes is pursuing an engineering degree, so that's math and science. And the people in her community looked down upon her because she was doing this, and she was more seen as bold and rebellious rather than intelligent, and it was thought to be very much a man's profession, and women really weren't accepted, and so she was always being looked down upon because she was doing this. And I feel like in the United States, it's, people are very proud. They're like, that's awesome that you're going to go out there in this field that's dominated by men and you're going to make a difference and you're going to put your voice out there. And it was very different for Agnes herself. And overall, my first interactions with Agnes was very eye-opening. The difference were crazy, truly crazy. But I'm really looking forward to our next meeting, and that should end my first video log. Thanks for listening.